Thank you very much for listening to this week's talk on the festival of Shavuot and in the land of Israel. On Shabbos, we will be reading the Sedra of Nasso. In the diaspora, we read the Sedra of Nasso the following Shabbos, as this coming Shabbos is the festival of Shavuot in the diaspora. And it is only going to be on June the 27th that we will be reading the same Sedras in the land of Israel and in the diaspora, as there will be a double Sedra in the diaspora on that week of Chukas and Bolok, and that will mean that the following week the Torah reading in the land of Israel and the diaspora will be exactly the same. And we're dedicating our learning to the safety and success of all of the soldiers in the IDF and to the speedy healing of all of the wounded and refuah sheleima of Rifka Yittel. And when we have a situation going according to the rhythm of the land of Israel, where we have Shavuos, which will be Thursday night, Friday, and followed by Shabbos, and connecting the themes of Shavuos with the Sedra of Nasso. And first of all, focusing on Shavuos. And we can perhaps look at the festival and think about themes that we will encounter when we read Megillas Rus, and pause for a moment to think that we have 5 Megillas, 5 parts of the writings of the Tanakh, and 2 of them are named after people. We have Megillas Esther, which we read on Purim, and Megillas Rus, which we read on Shavuos. And when we contemplate these 2 events and the central characters of Esther and Ruth in featuring in both of these accounts, we can see how they are 2 women but one destiny. We have Esther, who represents the fate of the Jewish people when they live in the diaspora and they have to navigate the corridors of power in the palace of the rulers, and they are experiencing Hashem's intervention in a hidden way. And then when we contrast that with the story of Ruth, which is the story of the return to the land of Israel, and while Ruth and Naomi, her mother-in-law Naomi, they suffer hardships after the loss of their husbands, and they have to return impoverished to the land of Israel and try to eke out a very basic existence, and how they are taken into the community, and how their story concludes with the birth of the Davidic dynasty. But the story is actually a very a simple rustic story and we see how the mitzvahs of the Torah and the chesed, the exceptional kindness that is displayed by Ruth, and this is the emblem of the Torah, but it is done in a very quiet, almost understated way. And this is a real contrast to the extreme drama of the events at Har Sinai, which involve a complete overturning of the natural world, as heaven and earth are joined together in this event of the receiving of the Torah by the Jewish people. And as we, on the one hand, contemplate that drama, and on the other hand, we have to actually find a channel, find a way to bring that enthusiasm into our daily lives. And this is something that if we look at the Sedra of Nasso, and we'll see that at the conclusion of the Sedra of Nasso, this is the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, chapter 7, verse 89. And the verse says, Uvo Moshe el Ohel Moed, and Moshe when Moshe arrived at the tent of meeting, ledaber ito, to speak to him, referring to Hashem, vayishma es kol medaber elov, he heard the voice communicating with him, me'al hakapores, from atop of the cover, asher al aron ha'edus, that was on the Ark of Testimony, meben shnei hakruvim, from between the two cherubs, vayadaber elov, and he spoke to him. And this Rashi comments on this. Vayishma es hakol, he heard the voice. Yochel kol nomuch, one might be able to think this was a quiet voice. Talmud Loma, to teach us otherwise, the Torah says, es hakol, the voice, which implies that hu hakol, it is the same voice, shenedaber imo, which communicated with him, b'Sinai, at Sinai. And I think that this is possibly a way to teach us that this exceptional voice of Sinai that we might think belongs to one day a year, to the festival of Shavuot, and then we can let that memory grow dim. But this voice is something that carries over. This voice and the connection that was established at Har Sinai when Hashem gave us the Torah, this is something that we need to train our senses to hear this voice constantly. And we can actually look at the Aseret HaDibros and get a tip as to how we bring it into our lives on a constant basis, on a, so to speak, low-key basis, when there isn't such high drama. And if we look at the Sedra of Shemos, where we have the the book of Shemos, which is actually the Sedra of Yisro, where we have the Aseret HaDibros, and this is chapter 20, verse 2. Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem, your God, Asher Hotzesicha me'eretz Mitzrayim mebeis avodim, who has brought you out of the land of Egypt from the house of servants. Now, in the translation, this is not something that you would actually pick up, because first of all, this is the first of the Aseret HaDibros. Now, they are mistakenly translated as commandments. Dibros means utterances. So people might feel that this verse that I've just read does not sound like a commandment. It sounds more like a statement. But actually the word dibros means statement. But when we actually think deeper, that Hashem is saying that I am your ultimate benefactor. I am personally connected to each and every one of you. Now, this is not something that you would actually understand by looking at the translation, but the Hebrew, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, the suffix cha is singular, is you singular. It's not you plural. If Hashem is talking to the whole nation, we could have possibly expected that to be Elokechem, you plural. And it's Asher Hotzesicha, again, who has taken you singular, you as an individual. I have taken you out of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. And when we are able to actually tune into that personal connection, that Hashem is my God, there is a glove, a tailor-made fit between me and Hashem. Hashem wants that connection to feel unique and specific. And this is not something that is a once a year event. If you feel very close to people, then the chances are you are going to be communicating with them on a more regular basis. And really, when we are looking at this personal connection between us and Hashem, looking at the exact words used in the first one of the Aseret HaDibros, understanding that perhaps if we would close our eyes and imagine how Hashem should have started the Aseret HaDibros, perhaps it could have been that Hashem has created the entire universe and creates something from nothing, which is an impossibility for any human person. all of these things are so exceptional and so beyond our comprehension. Perhaps that could have been the start of the Aseret HaDibros, but that's not the case. Hashem starts the Aseret HaDibros by saying, I am your God. I am invested in you as an individual. I believe in you, and I have rescued you from the house of bondage. And this is something that we are required to work on ourselves, that we feel it in some way every single day. So yes, Shavuos is a once in a forever experience, and we commemorate it on 1 or 2 days in the year, depending in the land of Israel or in the diaspora. But ultimately, it is something that we can tune into on a daily basis. And there is a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, chapter 6, Mishnah 2, that actually spells this out. And it says that every single day there is a voice that goes out from Har Sinai, which is actually referred to as Har Chorev. That's an interchangeable way to refer to the Mount of Sinai. And it says, Omar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Rabbi Yeshua the son of Levi said, B'chol yom vayom baskol yotzeis meher Har Chorev. Every single day, a heavenly voice goes out from the mount of Horeb, umachreses ve'omeres, and decrees and says, Oy lahem labrios me'elbono shel Torah. Woe unto the creations because of the insult to Torah. So this continued call from Har Sinai is something that is there, but we just have to drown out our internal noise, our external noise. We have to find a way to connect to that on a daily basis and reflect as we read the Megillah of Ruth and the various customs, because in some shuls it is read quietly from a chumash. Each individual reads it themselves. In other shuls, it is read before it is read during their morning service. And according to the custom of the Vilna Gaon, the great sage of Vilna, it is read before Kriyas HaTorah, and it is read from a cloth, from a parchment. And so however we read the story of Ruth, we are able to find in it the daily quiet ways that we bring Hashem into our lives, that we see in the events of our really extraordinary lives, but could be not a particularly dramatic moment, but we see and feel the presence of Hashem, and we connect to that, and we look at the story of Ruth, and we see how her kindness and the kindness of Boaz and the way the mitzvahs of the Torah really came to the rescue of Naomi and Ruth. And in this way, we draw all the threads together, and we are able to celebrate a momentous occasion and keep that energy going throughout the whole year. And wishing everybody Chag Sameach and Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for listening.